I'm going to keep hitting this thing, Brianna. That is, we have to begin to have different conversations. When you look at young voters 18 to 40, the numbers are simply abysmal in early voting. Again, I showed last night in North Carolina, the folks who voted early, first day, 55% of them were 65 years or older. And then as you go down between the ages of 18 and 40, they represented only about 12% of the total number of votes cast. And so millennials and Gen Zs represent the largest potential, first of all, the largest group of Americans. And so if they want to talk about how do you change politics, then they got to vote. When you listen to these people who complain that Joe Biden is 78 years old, well, guess what? If you don't vote and boomers vote, shut the hell up. They're the ones who are turning out. I mean, so that's why it drives me crazy when I hear people who complain about who votes, and I'm going, well, if you don't, be quiet.
We've had this conversation back and forth. I do think that
and the data doesn't lie. The data doesn't lie, Brianna. At the end of the day, voters 18 to 40 aren't turning out. They do not vote their numbers.
Well, we hope this general election we see differently. There's very important topics on the ballot. As we see, inflation has been huge in our country, and they can see the effect of that on gas and what that means to go to work and milk. And so these are issues that affect young people, but also Roe v. Wade being overturned, right? That's a very young issue. And so maybe having that as a focus on our conversation about economy and really needing to protect our states' rights now that Roe v. Wade is overturned, it pushes more young people to the polls. I do think it's about engaging. You said they're tired of the 87-year-old running. Some of the issues happen in the primaries, but we're in general election, and I know that sometimes it's lesser of two evils. And at this point, we need to vote for one of the lesser of the evils. It's not perfect in some states. We don't have pretty candidates. Tonight is the debate and Pennsylvania. And
okay, but Brianna, what does that mean? What does that mean? We don't have. What does that mean? We don't have pretty candidates. I don't. And I get. Okay, and here's my problem with that phrase. We have the lesser of two evils. This is real simple. If you are a young voter and you don't vote in the primary, why are you complaining about who's in the general? I mean, this is real simple. If you think
Roland,
that should be, you got to vote in the primary.
Well, what if the individual did vote in the primary and upset with what the general looks like? That doesn't mean that they stop voting. They still need to vote. They could have voted in the primary, and they still don't like what's in the general.
Actually, they didn't. They didn't, Brianna. Brianna, we can look at numbers.
You can say
we can pull data. Brianna, we can pull data, and we will show you. Brianna, we will show you consistently in nearly every election. The higher you go up in age, the higher the turnout. The lower you go in age, the lower the turnout. Please, by all means, give me an example where voters 18 to 40 outvoted voters 41 to 65 plus. I'll wait.
Roland.
Not yet. But we're not done.
Roland, it's not about the pretty candidates. It's about how voters vote. It's clear as day. Now, we saw the higher voter turnout rate in terms of mail-in ballots, in terms of drop boxes, and that swing towards Democrats. And you saw the Republicans' efforts to curtail that. And that's how a lot of young people vote, and also restricting voting on certain college campuses. And so if you make it easier for young people to vote, if you can TikTok your vote in, Democrats are winning hands down. And so we have to focus on making it easier to vote for young people. It's clear as day that's how they engage with the political process. But older people, they want to be sure they get their vote in, so they're going to vote in more traditional ways. That's just pretty much how people vote and how we're able to address making it easier to connect with those that are younger and how to vote and get part of the process.
The thing that gets me again is, and first of all, control room, please work on this. You two folks said there's an echo, so let me know what's going on there. All I'm simply trying to say is this here. I think we have to literally have real frank conversations, and that is this here. You cannot talk about being a young voter and you complain that older people are making all the decisions if, one, young folks don't run, two, if they then don't vote in primaries, three, don't vote in general elections. The reality, and the reason I hate that lesser of two evils comparison is because the reality is somebody is going to win. One person is going to win either way. And so you have to make a decision that of the two people who are running, then who likely, one, is going to support the issues that I care about, or two, who do I have a better shot at actually being able to talk to and hear from out of the two candidates? Because somebody's going to win. And whoever wins is going to be determining policy. Now, I can sit here and yell lesser of two evils and why do I have to pick between bad choices? Well, because you have to. Because one of the two are going to win. And that, to me, is what we actually have to be willing to look somebody in the eye and tell them and be honest about that. Listen, if you sit out, that is just as worse as you actually voting a wrong way, because again, you're sitting out of the process. Numbers simply don't lie. And when I pull up these numbers, Randy, when I look at city elections, when I look at some areas where a city council member was elected with 100 votes in an area with 1,000+ voters, that's 10% of the eligible voters voted. But trust me, you got more than 10% of people who whine and complain about something.
I think, honestly, that younger voters feel ambivalent. I feel that they don't feel connected to the process or they have any sort of control. And that's what needs to happen, is that we need to show them how this process actually affects them. I think they see politics and voting and honestly the entire government as something that is so incredibly distant from them. They have nothing to do with it, and they are more focused on what their lives are, and they're not understanding it. What their lives are and what their possibilities of their lives can be is dependent on voting. And who is really speaking to them? I mean, if I were speaking, for instance, to my sons, who attend Hampton University, I mean, they know they must vote, or that there would be repercussions. But who can relate to them? Are there people that they listen to who are putting the emphasis on the importance of voting and connecting what matters to them getting out and voting? And I think that's the issue. I would love to see that push that we see from many of our, stars, people they look at really talk about voting and make it make sense, make the connections for them. I think that would be extremely powerful.
Or I would also say to folks, learn to mobilize and organize yourselves, so then you're not depending on somebody else to actually do it for you. That also is important. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
This is our time, our moment to move forward, beyond the gun violence, the hospital closures, the unaffordable housing. Brian Kemp's Georgia for the wealthiest few. Stacey Abrams is looking out for every Georgian. She'll invest our $6 billion surplus in the fundamentals, education, healthcare, housing, and a good living. Putting more money in your pocket to build one Georgia where everyone has the freedom to thrive.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?